The recent accident involving boxing champion Anthony Joshua and his friends has reignited conversations about road safety and public accountability in Nigeria. Though Joshua escaped unharmed, the incident and accident apparently had drawn attention to what experts describe as a long-standing and systemic failure in transport safety management. Every year, thousands of Nigerians lose their lives on the roads, not just because of accidents, but because of avoidable system failures such as unused trucks left parked by the roadside, delayed emergency response, and of course, many other things, especially poor enforcement of safety standards.
Nigeria's highways, often described as lifelines of the economy, have increasingly become corridors of danger where unmaintained roads and untrained drivers and inadequate rescue services combine to turn minor accidents into fatal tragedies. At the heart of this issue lies a deeper question: how much do we really value human life? And for every high-profile crash that makes headlines, countless others go unreported. The victims forgotten in statistics that barely change year after year.
Well, to help us explore the issue and what must be done to make Nigeria's highways safer, we're joined by the former General Manager of LASTMA, Mr. Jide Oduyoye. Joins us here live in the studio. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
One welcome to you and thanks for joining us.
Yes. I mean, first thing we saw on social media after the sad and very pathetic accident that involved two-time world champion Anthony Joshua and his late friends who have since been buried now was fingers being pointed at government, road traffic officials and so on, blaming them for what had happened. On the other side, people said, no, you cannot blame them. It was as a result of reckless driving, which was deduced, that led to that accident, of course, causing the death of two individuals. My question to you would be, in the midst of all of this, isn't it time that we pay more attention to our traffic road systems? And what can we do to forestall such from happening in the future?
Well, thank you for that brief analysis. And I've always advocated that the responsibility for safety on the highway rests solely on the shoulders of government and authorities, whether they like it or not. Because for you to come to government and say you want to rule over people, it means you're taking on the responsibility of protecting lives and property. And every life matters, right, in Nigeria. But unfortunately, from the results that we've seen reported and unreported accidents and incidences, you find out that it appears that the numbers keeps growing year after year, and maybe the government just couldn't be bothered. Sometimes you're very quick to even believe that maybe the number of persons associated to be Nigerians is just too much, that silently they just want to reduce the numbers by just getting us killed, because that's the way I see it. And so apart from the government and its authorities, the second level of players would be the road users themselves. And typically, Nigerian attitude towards life, and maybe there's too much of a dependence on spiritual and religious cover, that we believe in everything that we do, good, bad, or ugly, God will come and save us through it. And so we're kind of careless in the way we approach road usage, the way we're aggressive on the road, the way we're just like lackadaisical attitude towards the normal highway code and highway ethics. And we seem to live a life as if we have more than the one life that God has given to us. In going forward, as with all things, I mean, you point your fingers to government, like I mentioned earlier on, and then you say, oh, education. What's the education level in Nigeria? Less than zero. When we're talking about average, we're over 200 million people. You're talking about health. Where is it? And so if the people are not educated in order to use the road properly, how are you going to get them to understand the code that is there? Now, if your health system is not in place, how are you going to deal with the after effect of an incident or a road crash? And then if your officers have not been trained properly to do the right thing all of the time, because sometimes they put in quote that they are trained, they've gone for training. But you can go for training for 3 years and come back with nothing, all right? And when you put all that together, I don't believe there's a seriousness at the moment. Tomorrow is another day. Maybe with your program, kind of program, you highlight what's going on, and with high-profile personalities getting involved with those sort of things, there's an awakening. However, typical Nigerian setup, and I'm not trying to be negative towards us, because I don't think anyone loves Nigeria more than I do within myself, right? So when we point out the truth, it doesn't mean we want to condemn or condemn people in government. It's just that you guys need to wake up and smell the coffee. The reality is on ground. A lot of people are getting killed every single day. The numbers are not right. World record is showing that the accidents that happen in Nigeria is just way, way higher than any other country. And why is that? Most of us are educated that the ones that are sick should be on the road. But we tend to find ways to go around the corner and not want to do things the right way. And so the government needs to put a stamp down and say, you know what, enough is enough. Now, how many signs am I putting on the road? How many officers am I putting on the road to do the right thing, to educate?
And that brings me to this question, Mr. Oduyoye. You've rightly put the blame on both parts, the government and the citizens. But I want us to focus more on the citizens, because the average Nigerian is more than government officials, and they play a huge part in dealing with some of these issues. You were a former GM of LASTMA. LASTMA is in the forefront of State Traffic Management Authority, and other states that have set up similar outfits have referenced LASTMA, and they've come to LASTMA for some sort of training. So LASTMA has set the bar high when it comes to traffic management authorities and systems in Nigeria. When it comes to Nigerians and dealing with this, because the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom sent a correspondent to Nigeria, the aftermath of the Anthony Joshua interview, and he was there on the highway showing that, look, the standard of this road is as good as what we have in the UK, but from the 10 minutes he spent, he's seen people take one way, he's seen overloaded vehicles, he's seen all sorts of madness go on in those times. So what's LASTMA's approach to enforcing, and how do you even appeal to Nigerians? Because the law is not there for you to break it. The law is just there as a deterrent, so you do the right thing. And I don't think law enforcement is happy to go around catching people all the time. It's waste of resources. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. And the reason why is because there's an inherent feeling amongst us that we don't even want to be told what to do. We don't like being enforced. We don't like to do the right thing. We just want to do things under the quote of freedom and whatever. And that cannot work in a sane society. And so you see an agency like LASTMA, and while I was there. And it's unfortunate that I had to do a lot of battle because I was coming from a background of where get things done and see results. Everything is measurable. It's not playing to the gallery. It's not trying to be politically affiliated, because that's not the job. Because the people that look up to you to see a difference in the society are not expecting you to be political. They're expecting you to do the right thing to save lives. Because for me, if you throw a stone into the market, you never know who it's going to hit. So whilst individually you can say, oh, a bad incident or result hasn't come to hit me, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So I'll give you an example of where the pressures are, even where LASTMA is concerned, all right? So I was talking to someone yesterday. So from the day I was born, I'm now over 60 years old, right? So from the day I was born, I noticed, or I realized in Nigeria, that the downfall buses were used as public transport, right? It's 2026 right now. The same downfall buses are still being used as public transport buses, all right? With no control. Anyone can just get into that sector and just set up a bus and just start driving, all right? And I can tell you, I guarantee you, at least in Lagos, nearly 75% of all motoring incidences and accident causation are caused by the yellow buses and the mini buses, the small korokwe's and the kekemawas. I can guarantee you 75% of them. The remaining 15% or 25% is shared between the Toyota Camry Uber drivers and then the the other interstate drivers. The one-off SUVs, whatever, you find them battling themselves on Third Mainland Bridge and Bodilon in Ikoyi, whatever. But these are the, so now tell me, how is LASTMA not capable, not empowered enough to address the yellow bus operators? And you know why? Because it smells of money. There are so many stakeholders involved in that setup that to let go would bring a major change. Either a political, political shake-up. Something is just not right, and that is what I say. But as long as...
But is that why enforcement is lax? Because, I mean, for private road users, you stop at a traffic light, and then before you know it, 3 downfall buses are in front of you, ready to jump.
Make that 8. Forget about 3. Make that 8. I did a survey at Cactus Junction about a week ago, and I was just, because there was an incident that happened, and there was there's a case of manslaughter going on there, right? So I was doing an assessment of what's going on. On my video, I counted 15 vehicles that jumped the red light on a 4-lane road. A big intersection like that, 15 vehicles jump, and it happens every single day. And it's not nighttime. So tell me what happens when it's 10 o'clock at night. And so there's a problem. There's a problem in the system. Now, LASTMA, I'll come back to LASTMA, right? So enforcement. You'll find out that to a certain degree, after 7 o'clock, most LASTMA officers have gone out of the road. There are 2 factors for that. Accommodation and transportation for them to get back home, all right? And then vulnerability in the dark, all right? Because once you're there, because you've done your enforcement during the day, these downfall drivers target you, all right? So if you're there in the dark and you're controlling traffic, they're gonna hit you and disappear. And so you feel vulnerable. So you find officers like thinking, you know what, I cannot, my life is worth more than 10 million that is likely to come for after your death, right? And so they disappear. So everyone kind of feels in Lagos that after 7 o'clock, it's free for us to do whatever you want to do, all right? So the government needs to look at this situation. That's why I put on there. Anything in Nigeria at the moment, government has to do enforcement for the average
How about
Nigerian.
the police traffic department? Because they do have...
Police traffic department?
Yes.
Please.
The ones they refer to as yellow fever.
You just want to wind me up right now, bringing the police into it. Because the police do have an agenda where anything to do with traffic and orderliness is nothing to do with them. Yes, nothing to do with them. A few days ago, I was on the Third Mainland Bridge. I found about 10 police patrol vehicles parked stationary on Third Mainland Bridge, rather than seeing one on the road, patrolling the road and making sure. Because in England, in America, right, because you know you can meet a police car, you can make a cop car on the road, you behave yourself because you don't know where you're going to meet them. So you can't just be stationary at the Adekunle interchange and expect people, once you get there, you go past, you know you're not going to find any police on the road anyway. And they tend to want to mind their business. You see, but the police have forgotten their powers, that they have a power to make sure that all kind of laws are obeyed. You don't have to be a LASTMA officer to tell a citizen to do the right thing. You see trucks overloaded, you see stuff on top, and they will drive past these police vehicles on Third Mainland Bridge, and nobody does anything. Yesterday on Third Mainland Bridge, there was still somebody hanging at the back of a downfall, at the back of it. Now, if that guy, guess what he was doing? He was holding on at the back of the moving vehicle with one hand. He was busy pressing phone with his right hand. So if the downfall driver hits an emergency and he hits his brakes and he drops, what do you think is going to happen from the vehicle behind him? But what would happen now? The people come, oh, you've killed someone, you've killed someone. Then the police will spring into action, oh, you've committed murder. Then suddenly they are alive. So you see that accident that happened? I'm telling you for nothing. Apart from the driver's bad behavior, it was the police escort that caused it. Because he was following the police escort. And everything that they're doing, they need to catch up. So when the police are busy being aggressive, overtaking and doing all sorts of things because they're the lord of the jungle, right? The driver is not like, I have to keep up. And that is the sort of thing, even though it was a bad act, because obviously it must have been doing over 140 kilometers an hour for that kind of impact, right? And the road is so wide, which means he was not able to maneuver quickly. It was a sudden thing, it wasn't concentrating. And when you're doing convoy, you tend to follow the lead rather than concentrate and take responsibility on your own thing. And I think that's what happened. So, yeah.
Wow. There's a lot of questions we need to cover very quickly, and I don't know, I hope we can really make out time to do this, but let's see. I want us to look at the economic impact first. First of all, let's talk about emergency response on major highways. Sometimes people say it takes longer hours. Why does it take so long? Emergency response lines, are they not working, the hotlines, and what can be done better so that response can
And also interagency coordination.
Well, I would say that is, you see, this emergency thing should not just be on the medical side alone, because when you look at the present infrastructure, all right, the infrastructure is not there for you to, nobody can predict exactly when incidents or accidents is going to happen. So it could be on a 20-mile distance from the nearest emergency, it could be 200 miles. And when you see the way the roads are used, like especially during festive period, the roads are clogged up. And we don't have that kind of respect where we leave the emergency lane for emergency vehicles. Any road space that is available is easily occupied by motorists. Like if you go to Germany, on the Autobahn, right? If you're on the road and there's traffic, whatever, automatically the middle lane is left free. Automatically.
That's the law.
That is the law.
For ambulances.
For ambulance, for emergency, for police, for ambulance and everything. Because if you need someone to go and deal with the situation, that's what I don't understand about Nigerians. You can see, for you to be held in traffic, it means something has happened. Now, when you're blocking access to what has happened, how do you expect it to be resolved before it gets to you? I don't understand the way we think. And we will just block every road space. A 2-lane road, 3-lane road is turned into 5 and 7, right? And so that is so the numbers are working well, but we're back to the government, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you say is for the public. Every single day you must ensure that it is working perfectly. You must even go out of here to prove that it is working perfectly. Don't wait for people to say, okay, last week I called and everything. You must make sure. Second thing is you must have collabo with private hospitals. It's not a case of you must, and it is integrity and it is trust. Because if I'm a private operator hospital, and I know if I give you a bill because I've done something approving, I will get paid.
Yeah.
Not you're going to be dilly-dallying and whatever. Do you understand? Because I'm running a business and I'm trying to help society. So you must help me too in making sure things are working right. Because the government doesn't have the capacity right now to build hospitals so close to every time there's an accident on the highway, right? So there must be collaboration with private hospitals. There must be police involvement. So it's not a case of like, go and get a police. I mean, I'm already injured from an accident. You're telling me that you're going to get a police report before you can attend to me. Like, who does that?
I mean, it defeats common sense and basic decency.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about another thing that shocks me as a Nigerian, that we've almost let it be part of our society, apart from the fact that it appears that Korokwes and downfalls have a different law. They have a different constitution that governs them. This has to do with alcohol, people drinking under the influence. I've never seen law enforcement conduct breathalyzer tests in Nigeria. I've seen it in Uganda, I've seen it in Kenya and several other African countries. But it seems, you know, it's okay to drink and drive. You have this motor park drivers saying, now we think they make my eye, they shine well when I did drive. And why are we not talking about that? Because if you're driving under the influence, if you operate machinery under the influence, you won't be able to concentrate, and it's been responsible for so many accidents. But we don't even have a public service announcements that talk about this.
It goes to exactly what I'm saying, and unfortunately, government people probably don't like me saying this. That's why I hardly get invited to forums anymore, because I would speak the truth as I understand it. Rather than FRSC officers, and I do have a lot of brothers and friends in the FRSC system right now, and they know my stance. Rather than them standing on the road and sort of like stopping cars that are obviously not violating any so-called traffic rules, and you're spending your time on the road, why are you not going to the garages? Because there are two things that happen from the garages. The drivers, like you said, they're under the influence, and then overloading. Overloading is destroying our highways, right? But you don't go to the source. You don't go to the port authorities before they leave the port gates to say this is overladen. all right, this is going to damage the road. You don't go to the garages where they're loading for Ibadan, Osogbo, Imo State, everywhere outside Lagos, right? You don't go there to say, no, this driver that is going to take this innocent 12 passengers, right? This driver is not fit. You conduct your test there. You don't need to do it on the road. Nobody needs to see that you're being effective, right? Do it from the garage and soon they would know.
Absolutely.
Once they see you and they know you're there, people would adjust. But because we sit down, and that is when accusations come in like, okay, maybe it's obvious you're collecting riba. Riba means like you're collecting something every week, every month from them. So everybody just keeps quiet. I mean,
hush money.
I don't know what kind of society, okay, let's say it is bad today, but I'm thinking, just like you guys are saying, what happens from tomorrow? Are we supposed to go this way? How many of us are going to be killed before somebody wakes up? Every time you guys are not far from Otedola Bridge, keep on saying Otedola Bridge, Otedola Bridge, you think that there's a curse. There ain't no curse. It's not a curse.
What's happening there?
What's happening there is just bad behavior, over-speeding, and is going down the line, and then you find people doing all sorts of nonsense, turning and ejecting out of Otedola estates. So instead of going in at 30 degrees to turn into the highway, they come in at 90 degrees, right? Without care or whatever. So they force trailers to slam on the brakes. All sorts of things. Those are the causations of what is going on. Or you come out of Mobile petrol station. Instead of going into the first lane, you shoot out. You find Nigerian driver trying to overtake at the exit of a Mobile petrol station into the highway. What is wrong with us?
And then there are no consequences for these actions. Sometimes it's like it's selective justice.
And then when there are consequences, it's almost like extortionist.
Extortion, okay.
You are not even explaining what the person did.
Exactly.
It's you're interested in the financial penalties.
I mean, if I'm looking at this now, 20,000 to 40,000 deaths yearly from road crashes come from road crashes. 30,000, 20,000 to 40,000. I mean, take a look at those figures. According to the FRSC and the World Health Organization. Also, road injuries leading to the cause of death from ages 15 to 39. So it means that if you're watching this program, you have a family member who's within that age bracket, you could lose them.
Yes.
To accidents. I just had a friend who survived an accident recently. Christiana Akpan, that's her name. She was on a bus and there was this mad collision. She broke her arm. The person next to her died, and so on and so forth. I mean, we see these things happen regularly. My question is the state, let's focus on Lagos State now for a second, because Lagos State seems to be, what do they call it? Seems to be the mirror boy for every other state. And yes, Lagos State prides itself to be a mega city, but yet we see these Koropes, Danfo drivers. They don't even use the bus stops. I do recall that the former governor Ambode had built bus stops. He had a strategic plan, but they don't use the bus stops. That's one. Secondly, we just showed a video this morning. Should your tire have an issue on the road, the area boys come calling. And then just right in front of them are the police and the last man. They turn a blind eye. What can be done to solve?
Well, I mean, it's funny thing you mentioned about during Ambode's regime. And even with present government, I mean, you have agency like Lamata that I had worked for before I was appointed GM LASTMA. And they've done a lot of work in terms of like building on the strategic transport master plan for Lagos. And so Lamata is on the forefront of changing the face of Lagos. But I dare say that we're still in 2026. As long as I keep on seeing the yellow buses operating freely, then I know something is.
But that's about to change, right?
Well, I'm not going to put. I mean, in theory, right? But
you
in reality,
no.
I would definitely not put my house on it, right? So you tell me how a government is seated looking. So somebody brings a van, a vehicle that is meant for goods carriage, all right? And they convert it into a passenger thing, which means the safety mechanisms for human beings and a vehicle has changed. So they allow that, number one, because they get registered. All those vehicles are registered in Lagos. So somebody is collecting money and paper from there to say, okay, you're good to go. Then the second thing is that the government has got its eyes wide open. If the seat that is meant for 2 passengers or 3 passengers on a bus like a Mazda or LRT, right? And then you squash 4 passengers at the back. And the seating in between is so squashed up to accommodate extra seats that by the time you're seated in the bus, your knees are up here. So any kind of impact at 30 kilometers an hour is going to affect you. And then you now see the small windows. Like I said, it's a goods vehicle, not passenger bus. So you cannot squeeze out of those windows in an emergency. And so we are killing ourselves.
These are the issues.
That's number. Then you now get to Korokpe. Korokpe, not Korokpe, the Kekemawa was meant for husband and wife and just 2 passengers instead of the motorcycle rider in India.
Yeah.
All right. So they now decide to build a carriageway to accommodate 2 passengers. That's all it is. 2 passengers and the rider. That's why it's got to fit. But what do we do in Lagos? You allow 3 passengers, and then you have for the about 4. You have 1 on the right and 1 on the left, and their knees are jutting.
And their knees are jutting.
He doesn't have space to
Not only that, they are now not even within their lane to say, let me be in traffic. They are now creating extra, going against traffic. So, and this happens every single day. But the police will see me in a BMW, in a Mercedes, in a Range Rover, and then I'm going to be the target. Like, seriously? We are just joking. You see, your program, you people, you have a lot of work to do. And I really mean, because your responsibility is to educate the people and to sound it into their ears. Like, even if the government does not care about you, it is your duty to care about yourself and your family.
A great place to leave it. Thank you so much, Mr. Oduyoye. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and we hope to have you back very soon.
Been a pleasure.
You'll definitely be a regular here.